What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, reviewing today Final Fantasy VIII Remastered. And I just gotta admit right up front that for this entire video, you're going to hear a giant smile on my face. This is a very happy day because, well, I never thought that this game would exist. Over the course of the last couple years, there were all sorts of rumors and legends that maybe it would be impossible to bring Final Fantasy VIII to modern consoles. People were beginning to speculate that perhaps the developers over at Square Enix had somehow lost the source code and they wouldn't be able to bring it forward in a good way, and yet here it is. It can now be on the same system as things like the Final Fantasy VII Remaster and the spectacular work they did with Final Fantasy IX and X. Here it is in all of its glory. But in my opinion, Final Fantasy VIII is a very different little item because this is definitely the black sheep of the Final Fantasy universe. This series has been going on for over 30 years, and it's had some great highs and some very abysmal lows. But a lot of people sort of forget that Final Fantasy VIII was intended to be different. It was the game that was supposed to sort of challenge your ideas of RPGs, of writing, and honestly, what it means to be strong inside a video game. I want to try and cover everything about this game and what makes it so freaking special, but I want to start off talking about the technical aspects, about the remaster work itself, because I am a little bit unsatisfied with certain aspects of it. When it comes to things like the character models, this is where it shines the brightest. This remaster managed to somehow seem to completely redo the visuals of each and every person. Side characters, main characters, villains, heroes, even a lot of the monsters have been retooled to be graphically gorgeous. Looking at any of these dramatic cutscenes and really getting a chance to soak in this stuff, it's just kind of impossible to ignore the fact that they did some very serious, complete redos, and I think that it really managed to work, especially because there's actually a lot of very tiny little details to their art that I never noticed before back when I played this on the PS1. Like, there are so many little intricacies to Squall's armor, whether he's in his like fancy dress suit or his standard clothing. There's actually lots of different, what looks like ranking markings on his different garb, and obviously his necklace, the lion heart, which is a actual part of this lore, is much harder to see on a PlayStation 1, and here it's clear as day. It also gives you more of a chance to see what these people are actually supposed to look like. Like his teacher here, Quintus, she's like somebody who's considered to be this like elder, the person who's here to try and guide the team, and yet they say that she's 18 years old. Now that I can actually see her in 1080p, it's much more apparent that these are kids who are trying to save the world. And this actually brings me to the thing that I have always loved the absolute most about Final Fantasy VIII is that this story is messed up. It is actually about, well, essentially child soldiers. People who join this military program to become cadets and captains and be sent on missions all around the globe for a measly paycheck, and they are graded on it like it's just your typical homework. It creates a lot of very interesting and very stark questions about morality and judgment. I mean, can you be the hero while being the invader? Can you get a paycheck for doing the right thing and still be doing the right thing? I mean, this kind of stuff to me is so freaking deep and so freaking good, which definitely is part of the reason that I think a lot of people probably didn't understand that. When this game came out, it was kind of controversial. Some people thought that it was absolutely genius, and some people sort of dismissed it. But before we move on to story, I just want to real quickly say that I think that where this game falls short in the remaster department is certain assets just look like trash. While they were able to rework the character models to be extremely cutting edge, other things like the overworld map are extremely weird. I mean, it looks like Lego bricks trying to be combined together. If I'm cruising around in my rental car and trying to hope I don't run out of gas between towns, it's really weird to see what are, I mean, these like PS1 textures. They weren't able to do a single thing with them. And I understand that's the limitations of the technology, but I do wish they'd been able to do something to spruce them up, at least to a slight degree. It's very, very obvious in certain circumstances, like in some random battles, they'll try and use the original assets of things like background textures, Like, what is that? Right there, look at the background. Is that a mountain? Is that a pile of mashed potatoes? I mean, I genuinely can't tell, and that's unfortunate, because overall, this game is a very sparkling example of taking a lost hidden gem and updating it very, very spectacularly. With that being said though, there are some things that were put in this game that go beyond just graphics and audio fidelity, and it's instead cheat codes. Now, all the different remasters we've gotten recently for the Final Fantasy series have had these in some way or another, and they have them here, and I honestly don't like that they're here because they sort of defeat the purpose of Final Fantasy VIII. So basically, at any time you can turn off random battles, you can turn on triple speed, or you can make it where every single fight is super easy because you have unlimited special attacks. Now, the reason I have a little bit of a problem with this, and I didn't have as much of an issue in Final Fantasy VII or IX, is because in Final Fantasy VIII, they've actually instigated a very clever system called scaling. This is definitely the Final Fantasy game that requires the most intelligence. You cannot be a dummy and beat this game, because as you get stronger, the enemies get stronger with you, which means that it's not possible to just grind out a bunch of levels and then one-shot people, because the enemies are also getting scaled up. They're going to get just as powerful to always try and match you, which means that the only way to actually take them down is tactically. By using what's called the junction system, you can actually configure your weapons to be more tailored towards certain elements, like being able to blind people or burn them, so you can melt like an ice elemental with a single hit. It requires you to constantly be aware of the situations around you and actually adapt. You need to spend a lot of time in your menu and just trying to absorb this knowledge and use it to the best of your ability. You can't just bash your way through this. You can't just la-di-da run through the streets. If you are not playing at the top of your game, you're going to die. In fact, I know a lot of people who were unable to beat this game just because they didn't fully understand all the intricacies of combat, and so therefore they hit a wall and were unable to progress. But to me, that is a huge feature that was purposely put in here. So I am a little bit disappointed about this game having stuff like super easy boss fights now, because you can just press auto special and start slamming them in the face over and over again with your best moves, and they can't even fight back. Now, just to try and clarify, I'm not saying that this feature should be removed, I'm just saying that you should not use it. If you're playing this game and you're trying to get the most out of it, I highly encourage you do not use the cheat codes. All of them, in my opinion, actually take away a considerable amount of the experience. Like something else is, the fact that there's triple speed is good for the random battles. I like that it's possible to get around quicker, and honestly, the fact that I can just level up and get a bunch of magic very swiftly is nice that I have triple speed. But something that Final Fantasy VIII does that none of the other games did is that there are forced waiting moments. Times where you actually have to like stand in a hallway at school and wait for somebody to tell you if you passed a test, or times you're actually waiting in a sniper tower to take a shot, and you actually have to sit there for like 45 seconds and absorb the silence to really let these moments sink in, to feel the pressure that the characters are feeling. And the fact that I can just press triple speed and have it be over in like 9 seconds, to me, does seem to sort of squander the narrative vision they originally intended. Now, all of this is personal choice. The things they've done with this game are trying their best to improve the experience, and it's just one of those things where, while I don't like that the cheat codes are here, I'm willing to accept that this is a necessary evil for having such an amazing game finally come over. This only costs $20, and that is such an amazing deal for a game that's practically lost to history. I mean, seriously, just saying $20 right there are just tiny aspects of this that completely make it worth that price alone. Like, one of the things I personally really like in Final Fantasy VIII is that it has a card system where right at the beginning of the game you get a couple of these little cards and you can just walk up and challenge random people to a duel at any time, and different people out in the world will actually have their own sets, their own strategies, and sometimes even custom rules for their part of the world. So as you travel, you have to constantly get better at the card game, the same way that you're getting better at the combat, the same way that you're getting better at understanding all the different layers of this really complicated and really amazing tale. Final Fantasy VIII is for grown-ups. It is a game that's meant to try and have you take it seriously, and you just need to sit there and get yourself invested in it. It is unfortunately one of those games that you can't really play and take breaks. You need to try and sit down and probably beat it in a weekend. That way you understand from start to finish your motivations, your hunger for success, and honestly, why you're trying to kill so many of these stupid fire monsters. Okay, so we've heard some good and some bad, but let's go over the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Final Fantasy VIII Remastered a 9 out of 10. This game actually exists. They really freaking did it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really made it from the bottom of my heart, and it is just such a happy day. You guys rock. Go get some cool summons, and I do really encourage you to check this game out. It's one of those games that I think is only going to be made once, and I'm happy it happened back in 1999. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.